Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're listening around the world. A very warm welcome from London in the UK, and here is today's news in sustainable transport and electric cars. My name is Martin Lee, and this is your EV News Daily for Monday, 5th of February, 2018. And we'll start with Nissan, and the Nissan brand is to get 4 full electric vehicles in the next 5 years, and Infiniti are going to get 2 over the next 5 years as well. And now that accounts for 6 under the Nissan ownership of the 12 that Carlos Ghosn talked about last September. And now you may know that the Nissan Renault Mitsubishi alliance talked about having 12 brand new full EVs in the next 5 years, but Carlos Ghosn never quite split out the exact amount of cars per brand and certainly not per model, and we don't know that information yet. But one of the Nissan senior executives, the corporate vice president for powertrain, Toshihiro Hirai, has said that there will be 4 full electric Nissans in the next 5 years and 2 full electric Infinitis in the next 5 years. And they were very specific about saying these are full EVs, these are not hybrids or soft hybrids or even e-power models, which they've recently added to, in Japan at least, certainly only for the Japanese market, the e-power Nissan Note. So a small combustion engine in there, which provides power for the batteries, which drives the drivetrain. So although Nissan's had some interesting concepts recently, any guesses? Maybe leave a comment or let us know on Twitter. We're at EV News Daily. What cars do you think they might either release new cars or adapt to be their 4 full EVs? Now, the Kia Soul has recently been updated with an extended range. The e-Soul EV went from 93 miles to 118 miles for the 2018 year model. And now some spy shots of the next Kia Soul, the next model year, has been published by MotorAuthority.com. Now, Kia Soul EV also comes with an internal combustion engine, a turbocharged petrol engine in some of them, but of course there's the Soul EV as well. Now, given that it's been recently updated, some debate about whether people think this is also the new Kia Soul EV is going to have an extended range, a better battery, maybe more density, or maybe a different technology, or maybe because they've recently extended it, it'll stick with what we've currently got, and maybe that will be upgraded later in the life cycle. Of course, if you were paying attention to the motor shows recently, you'll know about the Kia Niro EV, which they say is going to have a 238-mile range. So would you go for the updated Kia Soul EV, or would you wait for that Kia Niro EV, which looked pretty impressive from the initial specs? And they say that they're not going to differ too far from the concept car. Now, here in the UK, we picked up a recent copy of What Car magazine, where they put 3 great EVs head to head to head. The Nissan LEAF was the N-connector model they chose to test. The Renault Zoe, there was the ZE40i dynamic nav model, versus the Volkswagen eGolf. Now, in this country, in the UK, the list price of the Nissan LEAF is £30,490, but What Car magazine have a target price of what they think you should be buying the car for if you were paying in cash, which is about £26,000. The Renault Zoe has a list price of £29,020, but the target price is £18,719, and the Volkswagen eGolf has a list price, the most expensive of all the 3 cars they tested, of £32,190, with a target price of £27,690. And of course, all of those in the UK come with a government £4,500 grant. Nothing to do with tax like in America, where you get a tax break. It's a pure grant to get a discount on the price of those cars. Which one would you have? Which one did What Car magazine say you should have? Well, I won't spoil it in case you want to go buy the magazine or read the review online. All of them, by the way, come out very well, and all of them have their pros and their cons, different uses. A new survey in Norway's been done, and we found this story today by norwaytoday.info. And the numbers, well, what do you think of these numbers? Because they don't seem to quite add up into my brain, but maybe I'm being a bit slow with this. The results of the survey were this. 11% of Norwegians said that their next car would be an electric car the next time they got round to buying a brand new car, according to this survey. In Sweden, by the way, that compares to 4% of people wanting to buy an EV. Denmark, 2%, and Finland, 1%. But in Norway, the market share for electric cars is 21%. Nearly 150,000 electric cars have been registered in Norway at the beginning of 2018. So the results of this survey, that 11% were interested in buying an electric car, does that seem low to you? does seem a little bit low when you look at the overall number of EVs in Norway. Following up on this survey, when they asked people about the biggest barrier to electric cars, they said it was the range, still, and secondly, the possibilities. Norway still remains a key market for anybody selling electric cars. So 11%, and that was only expressing an interest, not will definitely buy. It kind of seems a little bit low. Well, this story thanks to Clean Technica. EVBox have unveiled a new Level 2 EV charging station. This is for the North American market. It's a beast. It's a big one. You won't miss it. And that turns out to be intentional. They've told Clean Technica that larger stations, larger EV charging stations, are something that they're doing for the North American market because it's more appreciated and that visibility is more key than in other markets. It's also seen as a business opportunity in the US more than elsewhere. Most of them are placed by private companies at parking garages and shopping malls. Well, these new charging stations from EVBox, the Level 2 chargers, can do 4 vehicles at a time at 7.4 kilowatts, and they're custom made for NFC payment to make it as easy as possible. First available in North America at the early part of next year. And finally, a story that's not about electric cars, but does sort of concern the technology which we drive in our EVs and how we get there. It's to do with aviation, and we found this story today on the manchestereveningnews.co.uk website. The brand new Airbus A320 Nero has been unveiled by EasyJet, and EasyJet are lowering their CO2 emissions as much as aviation companies can and making a big deal out of this. There's also an e-taxi hydrogen fuel cell technology which they're using when the aircraft is taxiing, because 4% of their entire fuel is spent when they're on the ground, and so they're going to use hydrogen to move their planes around as a way of doing that in a zero-emission way. But this is interesting. This is the reason why we're talking about the story today, because EasyJet plans all short-haul flights to have battery power by 2028. Well, that's only in 10 years' time, and we haven't really seen any concepts that are making their way into be commercially viable for aviation. It seems enormously ambitious. Short-haul flights on battery power by 2028. But they're convinced that they're going to be able to do that within the next 10 years and are working with partners on batteries for aviation and flying. And of course, any research that's done into increasing density, increasing efficiency, increasing new technologies, if aviation money is going into it, as well as automotive research budgets, that raises the tide and hopefully will create some better products, not just to use in planes, but in cars as well. Well, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed it. We'd love to spread the word about electric cars, so please do share this with at least one person who might be interested. And a reminder, you can listen to all of our previous podcasts on iTunes. And whilst you're there, why not subscribe for free, and you can get them automatically. It would mean a lot if you could take just 2 minutes to leave a quick review on iTunes. That really helps with their ranking system, and we can help spread the word to a wider audience about electric cars. Come and say hi on Twitter. I'm at EV News Daily. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you tomorrow.